These are the best and the worst passive abilities in Season 18 of Apex Legends. As always, this is just my opinion, but I'll try to rate all the passives as fair as possible. And if you can help me hit my current goal of 500 subscribers from this video, that would be great. So kicking things off in the bottom of D tier, we have Octane and his Swift Mend. Now, as an Octane main, it hurts me to put him so low, but in honesty, there is nothing swift about his passive, and it does take some time to regen health. For example, in a gunfight, you're going to have heals for your flesh health, as fights happen too quick for the time it would take you to regen your health if you have been dealt flesh damage. I do think his passive was to counter the fact that when he stims, he loses health. But something that a lot of unexperienced Octanes do is stim too many times or at the wrong times, taking too much health off themselves to regen quick enough, leading to easy knocks for enemy teams. Coming in second place of D tier is Ashe and her Marked for Death. This shows Ashe's map location of recent death boxes, which you can then mark with Ashe's data knife, revealing enemies which have killed that specific team, showing Ashe the location of that squad on the map. Once you have marked an enemy squad, they are also notified about it, and if they decide to go back for you and have better shields since they have been in a fight and you don't possibly, this could work out to be a little disadvantage for you and your team. Most of the time that isn't the case, and if you do mark an enemy squad's location, they are usually nowhere near you or are even dead themselves. So for that reason, I just don't think it is that good. First place in D tier, I have Pathfinder and his Insider Knowledge. What his passive does is that when looking at a care package, he can see what's inside of it while also recharging his ultimate at the same time. This is good as his ult is strong, but I'm putting him in D tier because relying on a care package is just too random to justify. Moving on to C tier now, in last place we have Wraith and her Voices from the Void. Personally, I don't think that this is a very good passive compared to the rest of the kit, and I don't play Wraith too often, but the few times that I have, the voices that tell you that someone's looking at you are lying because I don't see anyone immediately. With all jokes aside, while potentially being a step ahead of the enemy before they shoot, Wraith is another legend that compared to other legends passives, it doesn't just quite make the cut. Next up in C tier is Seer and his Heartseeker. With this, you can hear and visualise the heartbeats of enemies within 50 meters when aiming down sight with your gun or with no gun. With the little amount of times I've played with Seer, this is good for pinpointing enemies behind cover and especially when predicting which side they're going to peek while in a gunfight. Next up in C tier is Caustic and his Nox Vision. With Caustic's passive ability, he is entirely immune to his own and other Caustic's gas traps. He also has threat vision on enemies that are moving through his gas. Second place in C tier is Rampart and her modded loader. This gives her an increased magazine capacity and faster reloads when using LMGs and her Sheila. Like I mentioned in my weapon tier video, now that the Spitfire got a buff this season, Rampart wielding it could be a force to be reckoned with. The only bad thing I could say about this is that because it's for LMGs only, going against opponents, especially close range when they are using an SMG, could prove a little difficult unless you just spray and pray. First in C tier, I've put Vantage and her Spotter's Lens. Her Spotter's Lens can instantly scan and analyse targets she is aiming at, activated by aiming down sights, which displays their name, distance, how many people in the squad, shield and the type of legends Vantage is looking at. This is a great attribute to the team for making decisions of whether or not to take fights. Moving on to B tier, at the bottom we have Ballistic and his Sling. Being able to store a third weapon is very overpowered in the right hands, especially if that gun is a shotgun like the Peacekeeper. Ballistic is a high skill legend to play well, so if 3 guns sounds like your cup of tea, then he is your go-to guy. The only thing I will say is that I did find his Sling to be a little tricky to get the hang of, but maybe if I spent more time with him I would have been okay. I'm sorry for anyone who doesn't agree with this pick. Next up is Loba and her Eye for Quality. This is great for setting up you and your team early in the game with epic and legendary items, as she can see these items through walls and loot crates. The range is the same as a black market, and the only time this passive isn't the best is in late game, but at this stage hopefully you'll be well set up. Next in B tier is Watson and her Sparks of Genius. Watson can hold 2 ultimate accelerants in one slot of her bag. As well as this, using an ultimate accelerant will fully charge her ultimate. And lastly, her shield will slowly regen over time, similar to Octane, but just the other way around. She is a great legend to have on your team, as all of her kit goes towards team play. Third in B tier is Mirage with his passive, Now You See Me, which automatically cloaks when using respawn beacons and reviving teammates. This can come in clutch for reviving in chaotic situations, and your teammates will appreciate you for being there. One thing I will say is that more experienced players might know to look out for Mirage's glow coming off his arms when he cloaks, especially if they hear a res going off, they might come looking for you. In second place is Crypto's Neuralink, which can be thrown up in the air and can detect enemies up to 30 meters in distance away. This can be good for getting reses and holding down areas, just be sure to place his drone somewhere safe. As we all know, its cooldown time is way too long once it's destroyed. First place in B tier is Bloodhound's Tracker. Not only is it cool that you have your very own personal crow which points out the direction of enemies and can charge your abilities, you can also find out clues from where enemies have been, telling you all the information that is crucial for you and your team, like how long ago they were there, were they fighting, healing, etc. Bloodhound's passive for this day is still very powerful. Moving on to A tier now, I'm starting things off with Horizon and her spacewalk. With Horizon's passive, she is able to have increased air control and reduce fall stuns with her custom spacesuit. It's great to beat enemies to gunfights, especially on a hot drop, as she doesn't get stunned while dropping in, and having increased movement in the air allows her to be very hard to track in gunfights, especially if she uses her tactical. Another strong passive we have up next in A tier is Valkyrie and her VTOL jets. For gaining height quick and fast, Valkyrie's passive is very strong. While fuel is limited, it doesn't deplete as quickly as you might think, and it refills very fast, making her a force to be reckoned with her vertical engagements. Next in A tier is Gibby and his gun shield. Aiming down sights deploys his gun shield that blocks incoming fire. Once damaged for 50 HP, the gun shield will be destroyed, but considering that at this point you haven't been touched, makes Gibby a very good one-on-one in gunfights. One thing I could say that lets him down is that his hitbox is quite big, which makes up for the fact he has a gun shield in the first place. One last thing about Gibby before we move on, I just wanted to clarify that in my tactical ability tier list video I had said that Gibby's dome couldn't be destroyed, but some nice people in the comments gave me a heads up on that Mad Maggie's Wrecking Ball and Crypto's EMP can actually destroy it, so I'm just putting my hands up now and apologising for my mistake. It won't happen again, I promise. Up next is Lifeline and her Combat Revive. I think this is one of the best passives in the game, as there is no one else that can get reses off while staying in a fight. It can help you in chaotic situations where getting a normal res off could get you killed, and it's always nice to have a lifeline on your team. Second place in A tier is Mad Maggie's Warlord's Air. The main thing here is that Maggie can move faster while using shotguns, and now this season with shotguns getting a buff, makes it very dangerous for Maggie to have one in her hands. Another part of Maggie's passive is that she can temporarily highlight enemies that you've damaged, making it nice and easy to potentially get knocks. Coming first in A tier is Bangalore and her passive ability Double Time, which basically allows her to move faster while she is being fired at for a brief period of time. This passive has got me out of many bad situations, especially coupled with her smoke grenades. Anyone that has the ability to move faster while under fire deserves to be in A tier. Now, finally moving on to S tier, coming in last place is Revenant and his Assassin's Instinct. The reason I put Revenant's passive in S tier is his ability to scale and maneuver buildings very quickly and efficiently, his ability to crouch walk very fast, and highlight enemies near that are low on health. These three things combined make him a scary legend to go against, and that's just without adding his tactical and ult. For me, Revenant is a top pick when it comes to his passive. Next in S tier is Fuse's Grenadier. He's able to stack an extra grenade per inventory slot, and not only this, he's able to fire grenades further, faster and more accurately, making his passive super good. And like I mentioned before in my previous video, I think that his passive is by far the best part of his kit. He can really annoy enemy teams and make them suffer and put them under pressure, while at the same time being really fun to use. Catalyst is in second place with her Barricade, being able to reinforce doors by strengthening them and locking them to enemies, also making them go from a 2-kick break to a 4-kick break, which is great for holding down buildings. Also, when doors have been destroyed, she is able to create a barricade that will do the same job as the door but just take less damage to destroy. So the legend with the best passive in Season 18 so far is Newcastle and his Retrieve the Wounded. There is no doubt this is so powerful when used correctly. Unlike Lifeline that leaves her teammates vulnerable and most of the time out of cover when she is using her Combat Revive, Newcastle can res a teammate from out in the open while bringing them into cover, which is really effective in high pressure situations. What makes his passive even better is that if you have a gold knockdown shield, your teammate will be back in the fight a lot quicker and hopefully clutching up whatever situation you're in. So that's it guys, the best and the worst passive abilities in Apex Legends Season 18. That was a fun one to do, as I haven't seen any passive ability tier lists being done before. So guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings down in the comments, and do you agree with some of my placements or not? I always love the discussions these tier lists create, so don't be shy in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all next time.